Hi, I'm Sir Zion, and I'll be talking about my older Maxson Battlecoat today, which I made for Geekonomicon this past weekend. I've been getting a few questions on how I went about making it. I do have some progress pics on my Facebook page, but unfortunately I don't have a proper tutorial for you guys. So I figured I'd go ahead and make this video to kind of go over the steps I went through to put it together. To start, I actually had to make my own pattern. I used 3 of my jacks as references, and I'd upload the pattern, but I ended up readjusting all the measurements anyway after I started putting the base together. So that's probably not helpful, I'm sorry. As far as fabric, I used 5 different types of fabric, and to start I had this quilted fabric that serves as the front flaps, which I then weathered and distressed to give it more of that wasteland look. I have faux sheep's wool, which is on the collar, and I ended up putting it on the cuffs as well. Then we have this, I don't even know, I think it's thin felt, but it serves as the inner lining just to make the Battlecoat more comfortable. This is actually the material I used for my courier duster, and I decided to add it to the Battlecoat as a middle layer just because I wanted to use it up, but I ended up feeling that I probably shouldn't have. It made the coat unnecessarily heavy and thick and a little bit harder to move in. This is the outer layer. It's actually not faux leather like it looks from a distance. I bought it at Walmart, and if you look, I don't know if it'll zoom or focus. Yeah. If you look closely, it has a certain sheen to it, but it's definitely not faux leather, and I really don't know what it's called. It was on the clearance rack at Walmart, and it was less than $8 per yard. So total to make the Battlecoat and the laser rifle and flag props was $77 just to complete the costume. But yeah, these are the fabrics I used. This was probably $2, $3, Joann's coupons, $3 per yard, and this one was $2.50 per yard, less than $8 per yard. So all in all, it turned out to be a fairly inexpensive costume for what it looks like, I think. To put the sleeves together, if I had to do it over again, I would do it completely differently. I ended up doing not only the 3 layers of the brown fabrics, I decided to add this quilted layer to the biceps just because I have really thin arms and I wanted to give it more volume, I guess, and to make it look puffier, but I ended up just not being able to lift my arms all the way. So if I redo this, I'm not adding this fabric. The front flaps I actually took from the pattern I made for my courier duster's flaps. I just elongated it both lengthwise and horizontally, and it only has 2 layers. It has the quilted and the outer fabric, which I sewed together and then sewed into the front seams of the front of the coat. The collar was the most challenging part because if you look back here, I actually had to, let me focus, I had to sew a separate seam piece to grab onto the coat itself and to hold the collar without any of the inner seams showing, if that makes any sense. So, come on. The inside looks a little bit untidy, but come on, focus. But it looks a lot better than what it had when I first tried attaching the collar. Collar is also only 2 layers, just the wool and the outer layer. For the hardware, let's see. The belts, okay, the vertical belts at least, they're all Velcroed on. This, let me see, this was 1 belt, and this was 1 belt. I got them from Wet Seal for $2.50 per belt, and these actually used to be turquoise, but I just went over with metallic paint and gunmetal to just cover the turquoise parts. And these are, oh, this also. These are Velcroed on because I knew my camera ran out of battery, because of course it did. So, as I was saying, the vertical belts are Velcroed on. It just makes storage and transportation a lot easier. This part, the shoulders, I'm going to be completely redoing because in the game it's actually sewn into the seam here, and it curves up into here, and it's attached here by, I think, a button, and it has a buckle here, a silver buckle here, so I'll definitely be redoing that for a future convention. The patch, I completely ran out of time, so instead of sewing and or embroidering and sewing a proper patch, I ended up just taking craft foam, printing out the Brotherhood of Steel insignia, coloring it, Mod Podging it down, and then just Velcroing it on the side. So I'll be completely redoing that with a proper embroidered patch in the future. The back is actually unfinished, and this costume won first place in the intermediate division of the costume contest, and I'm happy about that, but to be honest, it's unfinished. This is supposed to be, I'm not sure where the buckle goes on the back. If there is even a buckle on the back, I'll have to look at my reference again, but there's supposed to be a belt on either side of here. So it's going to come like this, and I'm definitely going to finish that for a future con. So there's that, and it's supposed to have a buckle somewhere here also on each one, like it does in the front, like right here. So I'll be working on that. And let me see, what else is there to the coat? Just the bottom seams. I ended up sewing a separate piece to close it all up because I didn't just want to fold it like this. The layers would have shown on the side. It would have looked very untidy. One of the things the judges did note about the coat is that my seams are pretty clean, which I'm very happy about. So on this, with the inner layer showing, I'm going to have to iron that for a future appearance, just so it'll look a lot neater, like this. And pockets. I made the pockets too small. To be honest, I was trying to measure it to fit my body size, since my body type is petite, but I made them too small, and I'll probably be redoing the pockets as well in the future. This even covers the eyelets that are supposed to be on this side, so I'll be making them bigger, probably around like here, and hopefully the eyelets will show next time. And this just has the two layers, the inner tan layer and the standard outer layer. The belt loops, just took the fabric and sewed them on just to hold the belt in place. These are binder rings, I think. Binder rings or book rings, and I got them from Hobby Lobby for $2 for, I think it was a pack of 10 or 15. 10, 15, 20, something like that. And just hung them there just because the design has, I forget what shape they are, probably closer to this shape, but these are just easier to hook on. Just a belt, brass buttons. I just sewed them on. They're fairly simple, straightforward. And the detail here kind of got lost. His sleeves have, I think it was 3 lines of some sort of lighter color close to this, and I had them somewhere in here, but the sleeves were too long, so I just folded them like that to fit my arms. And I think that's all there is to it for the coat. If you have any questions, let me know. And I also had some people ask about my laser rifle. This one I made, I started 2 days before the con because apparently I hate myself. It's made primarily of craft foam, 5mm and 3mm. The rest is, well, most of it's 5mm, and the detail work is 3mm. it's completely free-handed, which I don't recommend. I couldn't find a pattern or anything or guide in time online, so I just looked at the laser rifle in-game and went from there. Free-handed the whole thing. It was tedious. So this is just the 5mm craft foam painted sort of forest or army green. It's all painted in acrylics. And this was also gunmetal, I think. Yeah, gunmetal and, you know, weathered with black acrylic paint. And that just goes entirely around the whole laser rifle. The whole thing is reinforced with hot glue and toothpicks. So this piece would have been a lot less stable if I hadn't inserted toothpicks in here before gluing it down. You can also see detail here, toothpicks also, as well as the front toothpicks. This is a plastic tube that came in one of my Amazon packages. I don't even remember what it was for, but it's just a plastic tube that I glued on, painted yellow. This is just one of my pill bottles. It's missing the red detail here. I think it has an arrow like this side up or something like that. And it's missing the 2 lines of yellow here, which I'm going to finish for another convention. But it worked well enough for 2 days, I suppose. These are just large thumbtacks. Right here, just help to hold it together. And these are actually, it has it on this side and this side. These are the same buttons as these, just spray painted silver and sealed down. But yeah, oh, the flag. I also had a flag with me because I figured it's early enough in Fallout 4 that people won't quite recognize Elder Maxson, especially if it's a female version. I just did a female version of him because I don't think a beard would suit me that well. People may argue, but this is just some orange fabric I bought at Hobby Lobby. It was 3/4 of a yard. It costs maybe, well, if it would focus, that would be great. Please focus. Getting there. Okay. It was, it cost $2 total for 3/4 a yard. And to paint on the design, I actually, I did this. I like to make things hard for myself. I took a picture of a stencil with the Brotherhood insignia, and then I enlarged it, put it on Microsoft Word because I just didn't know any other method to go about doing it. And it ended up taking 6 pages to print out, and I just taped them together, painstakingly cut them out, put the stencil on there, and then traced it, then just painted on the symbol. So that's how I went about doing that. Went about weathering it with antiquing spray, just to help give it more of a distressed look. Flagstaff, just an old curtain rod I haven't used since college. Spray taped down, so in case I want to reuse it again, it's not going to be permanently gold. Taped down, spray painted, sealed. Eyelets, I don't have an anvil and I don't have a proper hammer, so I just pounded it into my floor, so that's why it looks like that. No one could really tell, I don't think. More binder rings and then just extra fabric because I finished this 4 a.m. the morning of the convention when I was supposed to drive 3 hours. So it ended up being just fabric, but it held together, it was fine, it worked out well. So yeah, that was my Elder Maxson cosplay. The bodysuit, it's pretty, I have progress pics of it. It's pretty self-explanatory. It was just a 2-piece, just leggings and a shirt that I added hardware to. I sewed on extra details like the color block of the groin region and the, if you see pictures of it, it has like a darker turtleneck because I ended up having to add a separate material on there because it wasn't a turtleneck. The shirt wasn't a turtleneck originally, so I had to go in and make it one. The collar was just craft foam, and it had a buckle glued on that fell off, so I had to re-glue it, and I'll probably just sew it on for future use. So that was the bodysuit. It was pretty easy, and yeah, this is the flag, laser rifle, and my battle coat. So if anyone has any further questions, I'm sorry I'm completely awkward on camera even if I'm not in front of it. So awkward when I talk anywhere. So if you have any more questions, let me know. Preferably ask me to type it so I don't have to go through this again.